Hi there, I'm Budda and you're watching Dr. Guitar, a show for all you guitarists out there. In today's episode, I'm playing through some Big Muff Inspired Pedals. First of all, let me thank my dear patrons for supporting the show. If you want to become a patron, just go to the Patreon link. It's super simple and become a patron supporting the show. You can also contribute to the tip jar on PayPal. It's super simple too. If you want to have some guitar lessons with me, just send me an email or a direct message via Facebook or Instagram and we'll deal with it from there. If you liked the episode, please consider to subscribe the YouTube channel and leave the thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. The Big Muff was created on 69. 69 is the flower power age, Woodstock, first Led Zeppelin record. A lot of records were made back then, first Deep Purple record. The Big Muff was very new, very innovative in that time. And Mike Matthews was just trying to create his own version of a fuzz. Couldn't even imagine he was creating a new trend. Because although it is a fuzz, it's not a fuzz face like the fuzz faces that were being done in that period. So it's a very different fuzz that doesn't clean as well with the guitar's volume, but has a very thick, aggressive distortion. The Big Muff is a super influential pedal. It was used a lot during the 90s. It's very well associated with the grunge movement, but also with metal, with alternative rock movement. It's one of those pedals that together probably with the Rat and the Two Screamer is featured in a lot of records. I thought since I own some Big Muff inspired pedals, it would be cool to let you know how they sound and what they correct on the original design. Some of them are boutique, some of them are really well known, and I have a special one made in Portugal. So I'm very happy and proud to have a countryman developing a pedal that good. Hope you like the episode. So the song you were hearing on the beginning of this episode was all recorded with these pedals. I have here my Russian Big Muff, but I'm not using it for the whole episode because it sucks a lot of tone. I have it here just to set you on what is a Big Muff sounding pedal, and then we will go through all the other Big Muff inspired or Big Muff sounding pedals. So when I think about fuzz, I usually think about Fuzz Face, like my Roger Mayer Axis Fuzz, and I will show you this one too. But the Big Muff fuzz sound is very different in reaction to a Fuzz Face. In their extreme, they are kind of similar because they sound woolly, and I think the difference between a Fuzz Face or basically a Fuzz Face or even a tone bender kind of fuzz and a Big Muff is that the Big Muff is way scoopier and way more kind of metal sounding. So I always think of it as a heavy distortion, but with the low end not tight. So in a metal distortion, like in a rectifier or something like that, or in a PV or EVH amp, you have a tight bottom end, so you can chug and you can do your power chords with palm muting. The Big Muff is heavy sounding with a lot of bass, but the bass is not clean. It's like crapping up. And usually that's the difference between distortion and fuzz to me. Distortion is tight. Fuzz is very woolly, very, very dirty in the low end. The Big Muff is great for those violin-like tones and for those heavy mid-scooped tones. It always reminds me of Nirvana, of Smashing Pumpkins, Soundgarden, a lot of the bands from the grunge era. I bought mine when I didn't know anything about pedals, and this was like a holy grail pedal, like not a Boss, not an Ibanez pedal. So it was like very crazy to buy this pedal, and I did. This is from the 90s. So here's my clean tone with the pedal sucking a lot of tone. Plugging into the Lone Star as usual with a 4x10 and a 2x12 speaker, Mesa Boogie speakers. And I will go through the basic parameters of the pedal, but this is not a review of the Big Muff. This is kind of what some good people out there are doing, inspired by the Big Muff. Even Electro Harmonix has like 1 million different types of Big Muffs. So here's the Big Muff. The tone control on a Big Muff is a very famous circuit, and it does not only cut treble as in a regular overdrive pedal, but it also changes and sweeps the mid-range. So here it's way more mid-range. Of course, it's less trebly, and you can hear it sweeping out the mid-range. So there's some spots where it's very mid-scooped. So here it has a lot of mid-range, but not enough treble to me. Here it's scooping the mids and giving you the bass and the treble. And now it's pushing the high treble and losing bass, getting a little thinner. So this is what it is. But let me show you how it sucks tone. G chord as usual. So for this reason, I'm taking it off the pedal board. Otherwise, it will color the sound of the other pedals, okay? This was only here to demonstrate the Big Muff sound. It's my closest to the Big Muff sound. This is also an Electro Harmonix Big Muff, but it's a Germanium Big Muff, so it's kind of in between territories of Fuzz Face and Big Muff. It sounds like a Big Muff, but it has a volt control, which I really love, and it has a second side of it, which is a kind of a clean boost. They call it overdrive, but it's kind of a clean boost. Let me introduce you the guests today for this episode. I have the Animalizer, which is made in Portugal by Tone Electronics. The Stone Blender, which I've already played in this show, made in the USA. Great sounding and great inspired fuzz pedal with 4 different diode switching and this incredible circuit, the D-clip. The Animalizer is super complex, so it's inspired on the Big Muff, but it takes it way beyond because it has bass, middle, and treble as an EQ instead of just having a tone control as all the other have. It has a lot of different clipping stages, two different stages where you can choose your clipping stage. It has fuzz, volume, pre-gain, which determines how much you hit the first stage, depth, which I will explain later. Then we have the Eureka pedal by Gem Pedals. It's a killer distortion fuzz pedal. It's kind of a crossover between a Fuzz Face and a Big Muff. They claim it can clean with volume, because a thing with Fuzz Face circuits like this one is that they can go to shiny, beautiful clean. And Big Muff is not intended to do that, so it doesn't work as great with the guitar's volume. And a Fuzz Face can really do it. When you play Fuzz Face, you can really tailor your tone. You can make it be crystal clean and super dirty. So this is a great one. I'll show you in a minute. The Germanium Big Muff, it's a Germanium Big Muff Pi, so it's kind of a take, also kind of wanting to go to the Germanium Fuzz Face territory, but still with a Big Muff architecture. It has bias control, which is great, and it has volts, which you can turn down to make it be crappy. So let's start with the simplest of the pedals, which is the Gem Pedals Eureka. So you can hear it has that gated fuzz because it has a lot of gain coming into and a lot of bass, which is used by this switch here. Moving it to the lightning, it does that. So let's just change the switch and hear the sound. It doesn't gate completely as the ZVEX, because if you stop playing it, it comes back again. So it only gates when you put signal into it, because it can handle it. The Eureka is the one I used for the solo on the intro song. Let's go through the switching system. Tone control. And you hear it has the tone control of a Big Muff. It kind of, but a little more tamed. I think the Big Muff control is not, at least for me, it's not useful because you can never get to a spot where you're happy. It either has good mid-range but no high-end, or a lot of high-end and no mid-range. This is kind of more usable to me, and it works really good. Let's set it in the middle. this setting here where the lightning allows a lot of bass into the system. That's why when the gain is maxed, you get the gating sound. Here with this gain setting, you don't have the gating sound anymore. And you have a lot of bass when you turn down the volume. Let's hear it in the middle position. Okay, let's hear the other setting. I think we hear the max out of it when we are in maximum gain state. Man, I love it with this gating, but I really love this kind of fuzz tone. It's really great. Let's hear the red noise. The red noise has 4 different circuits, 4 different diodes. So without changing any of it, let me max the fuzz, and without changing any knob, let's just go through the different diode switches. The great declipping or declip tone knob, I mean, means that you can kind of, what I feel is that you can kind of introduce your clean tone mixed within the fuzz tone. So all to the left, you have no clean tone, just fuzz. This way you hear way more the character of the pedal. But with a declipping, you can introduce your guitar tone, so you will hear a lot more the pick attack and a lot more of the notes. So it's kind of having a tube screamer parallel to the pedal, because you still have the fuzz under. I don't know how he does it, and I don't really care because I love the pedal. It's great looking and it sounds killer. And you have all these options. My favorite one is the green and the blue. The blue is very distorted. kind of have a big muff, but the D-clip almost makes it be a mid-rangey pushed pedal. So it solves the problem that a big muff has for me, which is too scoopy, too woofy, so a lot of bass, a lot of treble, and nothing of the mids. So when you put it in the band, it's a lot of noise and no cut through the mix. This allows me to cut through the mix and still have the tone control at my usage. On the red setting, you really notice it. It's very scoopy. When you introduce the D-clip, it gets really mid-rangey. It solves a problem for me. The only thing is that it doesn't react as a fuzz face, so you cannot clean it up with the guitar volume. Here you really hear the two tones, the fuzz tone under not being clean at all, and the clean tone of the guitar, so they are kind of parallel. And now let's go to the Animalizer, made in Portugal, in Figueira da Foz. It's a really new pedal and a really great sounding pedal. So let me try to remember all the options it has. We have the pre-gain, which is kind of setting up your gain, your guitar gain into the pedal. So depending on the guitar you have, you set the pre-gain, or you can set it to maximum to distort the pedal the most. You can, if you have a very hot guitar, you can set it a little less and it compensates for the guitar, but it also distorts less the first stage. Then you have the fuzz, which is a regular fuzz control as in the Big Muff or in fuzz. You have output volume, 3 EQ section, bass, middle, and treble. Depth means, I think it means the bass going into the pedal, so you can really make it sound fuzz very dark, very woofy and woolly, and having the bass distorting and being all mushed up. Or you can set the depth a little less and you turn it more into a distortion overdrive pedal. So it's very versatile. Let's start with the EQ on the middle and hear how it sounds. On stage 1 we have lead, open, and silicon. On stage 2 we have open, germanium, lead, or silicon. So let's start where it is and let's go from there. So immediately way more mid-rangey than a Big Muff, which I really like. Oh, the controls on this might fool you a little because although the letters are written here, they work as a normal control. So this is minimum, this is maximum. Okay, so I'm fuzz all the way up as I like to use my fuzz pedals. Pre-gain is kind of 11 o'clock. Depth is at noon, and all the EQ is at noon. Let's play with pre-gain and depth. So you hear the bottom end being controlled and tightened. It stops being a fuzz, it starts being a distortion, way more. And now we're getting a lot of mid-range, a lot of character, making the pedal sound way more like a distortion pedal, not as much as a Big Muff. So if I went on market to buy a Big Muff, this is probably one of the pedals I would buy, for sure. Being that I'm not a real Big Muff lover, so I tend to love way more fuzz pedals like Fuzz Face or Tone Benders. And this is great, like a distortion pedal. It can go clean, really clean. Here you can hear the bass coming in. I think the EQ could be a little more responding, but it is what it is. This is not meant to be a clean pedal or an overdriven pedal. Let's set it. I think the pre-gain makes me be mid-rangey, which I like. Now let's hear the stages, the 3 stages. What do they do? Let me turn the fuzz down so we can hear what the pre-gain does to the stage 1. Stage 1 is real subtle, but you notice the silicon as expected. The silicon is tighter and a little more mid-rangey. That's why I usually on fuzz faces love the silicon fuzz. So let's go there and add the fuzz. Let's play with the stage 2 knob. As expected, Germanium is way more mid-scoop than the others. So the EQ works in a subtle way, but it works. You can really scoop the mids, or you can boost the mids. You cannot boost a lot of the mids, but you can do it with the tone shaping of the pre-gain stage and the depth of the pedal. And changing and switching the stage 1 and stage 2, you can get a lot of different tones. It's a great pedal. It's a pedal that I never played here in the show because it was sent to me during this COVID situation, but I haven't played it yet on an episode, so this is the first time I played it on camera, and I really, really like it. And it's made in Portugal, so I'm very proud that there are people here in Portugal, in my own country, making a lot of good stuff. Like, for example, my Futon guitar, my first signature guitar that I showed you in a few episodes before, also made in Portugal, which makes me really, really proud of my country fellow man. Let's go to the Big Muff, to the Germanium Big Muff, so you can hear what a different Big Muff from Electro Harmonix can do. So I have gain at max, this is volume, bias at 9, and volts at max 2. I will play with the volts so you can hear what happens when you cut the voltage on the pedal. Let's move the bias control to see if I can get more gain. It almost sounds like a synth. It reminds me of my ZVEX. It happens something like what happens on the Eureka when you have the bass all coming in and the gain maxed, but this doesn't make any noise when you not play it because it loses a lot of gain. If you turn the voltage up, it starts the feedback. Let's play with the bias control with the voltage set on max. So it's kind of a real smooth EQ, and then you have the second stage, which is kind of a clean overdrive with the bias too, but it's a clean overdrive with germanium transistors in it, so it's a different overdrive. Let me turn on the volume. And what is great about this overdrive, it's that it's a cool overdrive, like a light overdrive. Cool overdrive, but it can tame the fuzz tone and it can boost and overdrive a little more. So if we have just the fuzz tone, And just to show you what none of this Big Muff inspired pedals have that Fuzz Face has, I will plug in my great Access Fuzz. So now you know what I'm talking about when I say a Big Muff style pedal cannot clean up as a Fuzz Face. It's not supposed to do that. And it took me a while to understand that there's different types of fuzzes, and a Big Muff fuzz is something totally different from a Fuzz Face or even a tone bender fuzz. Well, that's it. I hope this has been helpful to you. I hope you have liked the show. If you haven't done it yet, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and share it with the world. Leave the thumbs up if you liked the episode. Also, if you want to support the channel and become a patron, just go to the Patreon link. Follow the steps. It's super easy. You can also contribute to the tip jar. I would very much appreciate it. And please let me know in the comments what you think about the episode. Which pedal did you like the most? Are you a Big Muff user? Let me know in the comments, and I hope to see you next week. Bye-bye.